Hey everybody, this week we're diving into something that a lot of you have mentioned comes up whenever it's your turn to create content, and that is imposter syndrome. And so I want to take a little stab at this from my own personal analytical brain and help you use the scientific method to crack through your self-doubt. Hey everybody. So something that comes up a lot in my work with all of my clients is the fact that when it comes time to put their work out there or to put their content out there to promote their practice, they start to feel really fraudy, meaning that they start to experience imposter syndrome. They start to wonder whether or not what they have to say is any good, or whether or not anybody is actually going to want to work with them or read what they have to write. A lot of times marketing can feel kind of like a shot in the dark, right? Like we're just hoping that whatever efforts we put out there are going to resonate with the right people and that they're going to see enough value in us to schedule with us. And I think that's where the disconnect is that we tie our value and our self-worth to whether or not these customers want to purchase from us, right? If we boil it down, whether or not people want to consume what it is we have to offer, which is, in our case, scheduling a therapy session. So no matter how much preparation you put into this, you're still going to come up against these imposter syndrome feelings, meaning that you can spend weeks and weeks and weeks building a brand. In fact, I have a 4-week package where we can do just that, where we can dive into who is your ideal client and what sets you apart from your marketplace. But even if you go through all of that and you feel really solid on who you are, what impact you want to make on the world, and how you stand out in your marketplace, that does not mean that when it comes time to put pen to paper, to put words on your screen, to record audio on your podcasts, whatever it is, that it's going to come easily, that it's going to flow naturally, and that you're going to feel confident in it. In fact, a lot of the people that I work with feel like they've built the best brand possible, that they feel really authentic, but when it comes down to the strategy, when it comes down to stepping out on that stage, they start to feel really, really scared. But as you guys know, I'm a super analytical person. Like, I'm very, very, very right brain. Straight line, it all makes sense to me, right? And so I want to share with you what I do when I start to get caught up in those emotions, when my left hemisphere starts to take over and I start to feel really, really caught up in the idea of, am I good enough? And is my content going to work? And is any of this worth anything? You know, we can all catastrophize. But what really, really works for me is focusing on the data. Numbers don't lie. So if we can figure out how to use the scientific method in our marketing, we'll understand what is working and what isn't. So in case you guys can't remember back to like elementary school when you first learned about the scientific method, we're going to cover that real quick. Think back to when you had to do your science fair project for the year and you put up your big poster board and you cut out your words and you had it flow, and some of you might have even gotten like first place at your science fair or whatever. But you had to follow a simple method and a system to determine if your experiment worked. And there's a few steps to that. The first is you have to ask a question. Will my volcano bubble over, right? If I add these two elements, what happens? The first question. You formulate a hypothesis. When I combine baking soda and vinegar, it's going to explode, right? And then you test with an experiment and put the two together. You observe, you watch what happens, and then you measure and you take stock of what exactly happened, okay? That's exactly what we're going to learn how to do in our marketing today. So the first thing I want you to do when you sit down to create a marketing piece is to ask yourself a question about it. Perhaps for you that's, will my audience react to a well-written blog post? Will a well-written blog post build my caseload? Okay, so that's the question that you want to start with. Okay, and then it's about formulating a hypothesis. If I talk about the 5 signs of depression, my hypothesis is that I will attract 1 depression client. Okay? After you formulate that hypothesis, you test the experiment, or you test it. That basically means writing that blog post and putting it out for people to consume, for people to read, for people to decide if they want to schedule with you. And then you have to observe. Now, here's what takes a while with content marketing. There is absolutely potential for blog posts to quote unquote go viral. We see it all the time where videos have millions of views or blog posts have hundreds of shares. Okay, but that's really a fluke and it's hard to replicate. Even if you were to luck out and go viral one time, it doesn't mean that you can consistently do that on a weekly basis. There's way too many variables, way too many factors. So while you are observing, you need to commit to observing over time and observing trends over time. All right? And then the last thing to do is to measure. So once you are observing that blog post, you're seeing if it's getting comments, if it's getting shares, if it's getting likes, if it's bringing you a call or two. Then you can measure that. And the easiest way to measure online marketing is to use your analytics. If you're on Squarespace, you have built-in analytics in your website platform already. However, if you're on WordPress or Wix or any of these other systems, you can easily install Google Analytics to track this for you. What this data will tell you is how many people are visiting your site, what is your most popular blog post, is it being shared, where are they coming to you from, are they coming from Facebook, are they coming from Instagram? Knowing all of this data will help you know what is working. So you can take an objective viewpoint and start to escape a little bit of your imposter syndrome. Okay, if you felt really vulnerable creating an article and you go back and you look at your analytics and it is performing like gangbusters, well, there you go. You know that you are receiving external mathematical confirmation that what you have to say is valuable. And the same thing, if you feel really vulnerable talking about a subject and you can check by your analytics that it's not resonating with your audience, well, then you never have to go there again and you never have to talk about that subject again. So this is how the scientific method can help you bust through imposter syndrome when it comes to marketing your practice. If you guys want to learn more about this, exactly what you should be measuring, exactly what you should be observing, that's what we're going to talk about in this month's masterclass. It's taking place August 31st inside the Online Marketing with Empathy Facebook group. So go ahead and click the little button below and join us in the group. We'll be talking for an hour about the types of analytics you need to measure, what statistics you need to follow, what you should be looking for to determine if your marketing is working for you. Thanks, guys.